welcome to another Eyes Open Network video report for January 22nd, 2016. Today's topic is the oil prices and its connection to the Canadian dollar and how it's killing the NHL. Oil prices have been crashing or falling for some time now, and it doesn't look like there's an end in sight. The falling oil prices could get as low as $10 a barrel, which is not a good thing. Many people just, and I hear about it all the time when they're so excited about the price at the pumps, and they really just have this very narrow-minded view of why oil prices going down is good, and it just rings true for how the NHL is having to survive. They spend a lot of time spending money on their salaries, on their costs for travel, which can be pretty enormous. And the fact remains is that here at the Eyes Open Network, we're trying to help people open their eyes. And one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that people have this narrow-minded view of the world. They just bury their head in the sand. And you know what, honestly, I have to give them, I have to be honest, it's not their fault. It's by design. You know, the government and everything and all the powers that be don't want you to notice and pay attention and understand all the details. That's what we're here for. But here's just a broadened perspective of how this can impact something as simple as NHL hockey, a beloved sport of the Canadian people. But you may lose it. You remember back in 2004, 2005, you lost an entire season for just this exact reason. The Canadian dollar's crash. Pundits have said that by the end of 2016, the Canadian dollar could be lower than 60 cents against the US dollar. Whoa. That would be the all-time record low. That's a pretty big deal. And the NHL could be very well facing some very serious salary cuts in the very near future, because their salaries are directly connected to their revenue. See, here's where the problem is with Canadians. 50% of the people who play in the NHL are Canadian. Furthermore, they collect all of their revenue. 7 of the 30 teams collect their revenue in Canadian dollars. So, with people running to the NHL hockey game, they pay for their ticket price in Canadian dollars. They pay for their food in Canadian dollars. They pay for their beverages, Canadian dollars. They buy their jerseys in Canadian dollars. Everything all of the revenue being pumped in, and the NHL's revenue is generated largely in part to the Canadian markets. Although there are 23 teams in the US, the 7 teams in Canada account for nearly half of the income revenue for the entire league. That includes everything from, sports paraphernalia, jerseys, etc., and tickets and all that other stuff that goes along with it. But that's a big deal. The NHL's and with the collective bargaining agreement that they signed the last time that they had a lockout, they have put in place that the salaries will be directly connected to the revenue. So as the revenue plummets because the Canadian dollar is dropping, because oil prices are dropping, so yippee-ki-yay, you wander over to the gas station and it only costs you pennies to fill up your car. Woohoo! But you're losing some of the best parts of what you would consider your entertainment. If the NHL falls apart, then where do you go there? If any number of other things happen that are directly related to the falling oil prices, people losing their jobs, losing their way of life, losing their homes, which can lead to more people on social assistance, which can lead to more pressure on the government and their tax dollars being spent, etc., etc. Like, there's huge, wide-reaching ramifications for the falling dollar or falling oil prices, not just the Canadian dollar and not just the NHL. The NHL is being used in this example as a eye-opening opportunity for you to see that this is just not about gas prices. You have to think about it further. So when they start to calculate the NHL salaries and they realize that this year is going to be a pretty horrible year based on the dollar, because 2016, again, they're saying it's going to go under. I have the numbers here. Just let me take a quick peek. I do believe they're saying it could finish the year. Of course, my screen is frozen, so I cannot scroll up or down. So, sorry, I cannot get that number for you, but the under 60 cents on the dollar is what the Canadian dollar is potentially going to end at by the end of the year, which will spell a very dramatic drop in the salary cap for the NHL teams, which will mean they're going to have to cut staff, cut players, move players around, make trades. It's going to be a very interesting year for the NHL and the owners and how they're going to juggle this situation with the Canadian dollar. So it's not all fantastic and awesome when the Canadian dollar drops and when the oil prices give you cheap gas at the pumps. It's not just that simple. There's so many other things that come into play that here at the Eyes Open Network, we continue to challenge you to open your eyes, understand that there's so much more going on than this single little piece of the puzzle. I find that, especially in Western culture, North America, Canada, and the U.S., we tend to take this tiny little segment of the big picture, and we focus on this tiny little piece of the puzzle and say everything's going to be okay. Look at this piece right here. Gas prices are cheap. I can fill up my car for $20. So there's a big piece of that is not, or that's a tiny little piece of the big puzzle. So what I'm saying is that you need to open up your eyes. Again, make some comments below. Let's get involved. Let's get people hearing about it. Let's get people woken up. Let's get people's eyes open. This has been an Eyes Open video report. We'll talk to you soon.